Hey everyone, it looks like it's 12 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. My name is Chris Jackson. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at MSU Law. And today we have Dr. Jennifer Carter-Johnson, who's one of our faculty members here at the law school. She's going to talk about our patent law program and careers in patent law. So with that, Dr. Carter-Johnson.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you having me here to talk today. First off, let me welcome you guys to MSU Law, even if it's virtually at this point. Secondly, I want to apologize because I have been fighting a cold over the weekend, and so if my voice kind of drops out, I will take a drink of water and keep going. But please excuse me if I cough or something. So what am I going to talk to you today about? Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself first before I tell you about the agenda. I am a tenured professor here at MSU Law, and I am one of the co-directors of the Intellectual Property Program. Possibly more important for you guys is that I come from a science background. Law was my second career. And so if you're coming from a science background, or you're coming from a background that's not a traditional pre-law type background, and you're interested in intellectual property, one of my goals is to help students come in and figure out what their career path is based on the background that they already have. And so before I ever give any of this talk, let me just say, you can look me up online. My email is jcj@law.msu.edu. My initials, jcj@msu.edu. Please feel free to send me reach out, send me an email. I'm happy to talk to people anytime as you're thinking about this pathway. So with that being said, let me tell you a little bit about careers in patent law and excuse me, our program here at MSU that can help you get to those careers. And I'll touch on some of the non-patent law intellectual property careers as well. So for the agenda, we'll talk a little bit about employment and IP law, and then I'm going to move into telling you that second piece, how we can get you started in IP law based on your time here at MSU. Okay. So, career prospects in intellectual property law. Intellectual property lawyers are in demand. Especially patent attorneys are far more in demand than, excuse me one second. Especially patent attorneys are far more in demand than many other types of attorney. But intellectual property attorneys in general tend to be a very in-demand field. And you can do a lot of different things within intellectual property. If what you are really interested in is science and technology and the progress of science and technology, you could be a patent attorney and work for either the U.S. Patent Office, or you could work for a law firm and write patents all day, working with these new technologies as they come out. Alternatively, maybe you want to be in the courtroom and you want to be a litigator. You could take your science background and be a patent attorney who works in the courtroom and litigates patents. You could also do that with copyrights or trademarks. And you don't need a science background for any of those things. Science background will help you with a patent attorney job as a lawyer, but it's not required. And then finally, what you might want to do is help people come together to build businesses. And so you might want to be a transactional attorney, where you write agreements between different stakeholders. Samsung wants to license a new patent for their phone technology to Motorola. You could be in the middle of that, those agreements. there's all sorts of things. And so again, transactional attorney, you don't have to have a science background for that. But there's a lot of opportunities both in law firms as well as in-house at corporations. Just to give you an idea, patent lawyers with an engineering or hard science background, entry-level salaries, I don't know that this should be up to, it should be around $160,000. It really depends on the market. If you're going somewhere like a New York, it could be up to 180. If you're going to a smaller city, like a Pittsburgh or a Kansas City, it might be a little bit less, but 160 is about the average that we're seeing with our students who are patent attorneys. Okay, so that should give you kind of an overview of what you could do. So what about our students? Where do MSU law students go? And I think the answer there is A, wherever there are jobs for them. And that can be anywhere in the country. This is just a list of our recent employers for IP alumni. Jones Day isn't on this list. It's not a complete list by any means. We've had some people in the past go out to both law firms, as you can see, are well represented on here, as well as companies like Dow and General Motors. So what you do with your career coming out of MSU really is what you want to do. We even have an alumni who works as a patent attorney for NASA. So you can go where you want to from MSU Law. How do we get you there? So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about some curriculum highlights. This is by no means complete. We have the basic patent, copyright, trademark, trade secrets classes, but we also have other classes where IP touches on different areas, but are not the main focus. I teach a biotechnology law class, as well as the patent law class. We have a patent litigation class because it is a very specialized area of litigation. Antitrust, areas where IP overlaps a lot. We have media law, we have sports law classes. I also teach a licensing, IP licensing class, which is a transactional law class. We have classes on driverless cars, agriculture law, artificial intelligence. So there's a lot going on here at MSU Law for people who are interested in intellectual property. And one other thing is that you can take, I believe it's up to 6 classes across campus. So it's not just about MSU Law, it's about MSU as a broader university, because you can take up to 6 credits across campus at the graduate level and count those towards your JD. So let's say you have an undergraduate degree in chemical engineering, and you want to take some graduate level chemical engineering classes to beef up your patent resume. You can do that. We have an anti-counterfeiting group that's right across campus from us. We have people who do externships in that, and we'll talk about some of those in a little bit. But that's just one of the groups that you could work with and take classes from across campus. Additionally, if you have a biology background and you want to transition into something that's a little more engineering related, we have a bridge program with our chemical engineering department right across the street from the law school, where you can get both a law degree and a master's in chemical engineering. And they actually take you from having a biology degree or a chemistry degree into a chemical engineering degree, even if you haven't had any undergrad engineering classes. So another way that you could make yourself more marketable with only an extra year of classes. So that's kind of the curriculum, some of the curriculum highlights. But it's not all about learning in the classroom. we have a lot of other places for you to learn about intellectual property and the practice of intellectual property. Excuse me. How do we do that? We have several different ways that you can get some experiential learning. The first of those is clinics. We have two main intellectual property related clinics here at the law school. We have a, excuse me, we have a Great Lakes First Amendment Law Clinic, which if you are interested in copyright, First Amendment intersects with copyright in the journalism sphere every day. And so that is the focus of the Great Lakes First Amendment Law Clinic, is helping journalists at often the high school, college level understand what their rights and obligations are, as well as journalists in professional capacities as well. And then the second clinic is one that I actually help co-direct, and that is the Intellectual Property and Entrepreneurial Law Clinic. And let me just say, because this is my baby, this is my clinic, it is a lot of fun. We take on clients from both the university, we take on students who are in the MSU Greater University, as well as people from the community. So if you have a chance, look up the Grand Rapids Art Prize competition. It's a lot of fun, and Grand Rapids, which is about an hour away from here, turns their entire city into an art competition for a few weeks in the fall. And so we, as part of our clinic, actually gave informational meetings, information sessions for those artists, and then took several of those artists on as clients to work in our IP clinic. We also have people who are from the community or from the school who come in with patent problems. So we have a large variety of things that we do in the IP clinic, and it's a lot of fun. So you don't have to have a science background in order to be in part of the IP clinic. We try to get a mix of students who are interested in that. And we also do some entrepreneurial law type work in there, helping people to think about business plans and startups, business formation, things like that. We also have a wide variety of externships across the university campus, the state of Michigan, and across the United States as a whole. I mentioned the anti-counterfeiting group. They take interns from the law school and help them think about what it means to counterfeit something and help them work on their projects. The MSU Technologies program is our tech transfer office that helps faculty members who have invented something takes externs from our law students, as well as the general counsel's office, which works with licensing things like Sparty and the Spartan trademark. And then across Michigan, we're only 45 minutes to an hour away from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office satellite office here in Michigan. And we have a lot of students who do externships both on the patent and the trademark side in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office that's right down the road. And we have we have the USPTO people come in and talk to our students several times through the year. We do tours of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office as well. And then really, if you want to do an externship, I will say that we also have had several students do externships at Dow. You'll notice that was one of our recent employers. So a lot of these externships lead to full-time jobs down the line. And then we have a great person who oversees externships. And essentially anywhere in the country, if you want to do an externship, you find something that's interesting. Maybe you don't want to go to the USPTO Detroit office. Maybe you want to go to the USPTO DC office or the copyright office in DC. We can help you set those sorts of things up, and we can help you get credit for doing those sorts of externships. Maybe you want to work for a law firm. We can help you decide whether it's better for you to do an externship or to get credit for it, or to just get paid if that's an option. We actually have somebody who is, that's their job, is to help you find those sorts of externships. And now that's in addition to our career services office, which will help you find your final job. And that's also all in addition to coming and talking to me. I've had numerous students in my office this year talking to me about resumes and job hunts and things like that. And so I'm very active in helping my IP students figure out where they want to go and how the best way to get there. So you have a lot of different resources when it comes to externships and jobs here at MSU. I also run the competitions. And so if at any point you did mock trial or something like that when you were in high school or college, something similar is our moot court competition, except instead of being a trial, it's an appellate level. So you're just talking to the judge or judges in this case. And so we run two different moot court competitions, a patent moot court competition and a trademark moot court competition, and we send students to those. Both of the regionals for those are in Chicago, and the nationals are in DC. And I will tell you that going to DC for the national competition is a lot of fun. And then the last one is an international patent drafting competition, and that one is held just up the road here in Detroit. It's co-sponsored with, working with the U.S. Patent Office. I think it's Detroit Mercy and Windsor in Canada. So, and we've been sending patent drafters to that competition for several years now. It's a relatively new competition, and it all occurs right in Detroit. Finally, if that isn't enough experiential learning for you, we also have a study abroad opportunity that's just a lot of fun. I mean, you learn something, but it's also a lot of fun. And that's the Croatia study abroad, where you learn topics in comparative copyright, cyber law, European Union, private law. Some years they do some agriculture-related things, like, for instance, champagne only comes from the Champagne region of France. If you buy it from a U.S. winery, it's called sparkling wine. All of those sorts of food things are bound up in geographic indicators, which are a version of trademarks. So we do a lot of those sorts of things, and it's just a lot of fun. It's 2 weeks in Croatia toward the end of the summer. You can also work for part of the summer and then do the Croatia study abroad, so it's not an either or. You don't have to choose the study abroad or the externship. It's just another activity that we have that might be interesting for you. And then finally, we do have a very active IP student group, and they are constantly bringing in speakers and doing a number of things socially, so that you can get to know your fellow IP students. And you know, one thing that I forgot to tell you about the curriculum highlights and our IP students this reminded me, is that you actually will get to know your fellow IP students in your first year. Unlike a lot of schools where everybody just gets sorted randomly into first year classes, we actually have our first year research and writing classes. Several of those are set up as based on topics of interest, and one of those is the intellectual property research writing and advocacy class. And so you'll start to learn about intellectual property in your first semester of your first year. You don't actually have to wait until you're an upper level law student in order to learn about intellectual property. And I think that's a lot of fun for students who come in knowing they want to do intellectual property, and they're stuck learning contracts and property and constitutional law and things that they don't yet see are directly related to what they want to do. They'll become important later because you've got to get that foundation. But this lets you start to do some of the things that are really interesting to you in your first semester. I think that is all that I really have to say about the program at large. And so with that, I will turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you, Professor Carter-Johnson. Really appreciate it. So I put up information here. So for any of you who might have questions, you can definitely type in questions in the Q&A box now if you'd like. We'd love to have those questions answered for you. But if you have additional questions about admissions or anything like that, our contact information for our admissions office is up on the screen. And so with that, there we go. If you have questions, please feel free to, at the top bar, you'll have a little box that says Q&A. Click on that, you can type them in, and we'll go ahead and get those answered.
And just to reiterate, if you do have questions and you don't feel like, and you don't think of them until after you leave, again, my email is jcj@msu.edu. It's just my initials. Please feel free to contact me.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A and we'll go ahead and get those answered. Also, while you're doing that, I just want to let you know that we do have one more webinar coming up this fall semester. That's going to be on our dual degree program with the University of Ottawa and also on our advanced dating JD program. So if you're interested in that, check that webinar out. That goes on next week. So far, we haven't received any questions, which is fine. But if anybody does have them, please feel free to go ahead and type those in so we can get them answered.
I explained everything perfectly in spite of my cough.
I expect nothing less.
While people are thinking about questions, I'll also say that we often here in the IP department also hire students as IP fellows on occasion, as we need research projects done or just need help with some of the organizational stuff. We'll often reach out to our students for part-time work. So that's another place where you might be able to add a little spending money to your pockets and take out a few less loans. So those are some more opportunities that are available for you.
All right, well, it doesn't look like anybody has any questions today, so I don't want to take up anybody's extra time. But again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact our office or contact Professor Carter-Johnson directly, as she's more than happy to assist you and answer any questions. And so with that, I want to say thank you for everybody participating. Thank you, Dr. Carter-Johnson, for participating, and hopefully you feel better soon. And I hope that everybody has a good holiday weekend.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening.
All right, and with that, everyone have a great day.